How beneficial have these last few days at home just to kind of regroup after just the up and downs of that road trip?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Had Burke back on the floor a little bit today. He did one live segment. You see how important Burke is to our lineup, and listen, the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys of this business. Come back from 20 down and win a really good road game against a team that went into Ohio State and beat them by 21 points. That's a hell of a win. And he bounced back with a poor effort, and that's the disappointing thing about that. But what I tried to do with our team is put everything in perspective and where we are. We're 5-2 in our last 7 games. When you look at that last game in January against Illinois on January 30th, and then we're 4-2 in February, and I know you're only as good as your last performance. I get it. I get what this business is about. But we're out there without one of our best, most important players that does a lot of things to cover things up for us. He rebounds it. He guards multiple positions. He's always a pressure release on offense against a pressure team that we did not handle well. So I know the sky is falling in mentality that you have when you have a poor effort, but my job right now is to get him back right, because if you're reading everything, we're the worst team in the country right now. And after last 15 minutes, if you looked at that, we were the best team in the country. And that's the emotions, trying to keep them in check and getting them back to where we are even through whatever is going on with our team. If you listen to what was being said after Northwestern, oh man, these guys may not lose again. And then you listen to what's said after Penn State, these guys may never win another game. You have to stay even in this business. You can't look and listen and read everything. It'll drive you nuts in this business. So my job these last couple days was to let them know we are a damn good basketball team, and we are playing for something right now. There's a lot of teams in the country that are not playing for anything at this point, except for going out and being the role of the spoiler, which we've had those years early, and you got to embrace that. You got to try to go out there and play as hard as you can. But we are playing for something right now. We are guaranteed 5 more games. We are guaranteed 200 minutes of basketball, about 3 hours and 20 minutes on the court. We have 19 days left in our season with those 5 games, hopefully beyond. And, with those 19 days, 3 of those are off days. We have basically 11 practices left. So there's a lot of good things right now with where we are. Again, I understand it with how disappointing that game was at Penn State. Not only Burke, but one of our more important guys that was 8 for 8 in that game has 2 fouls in 2 minutes. So there's a lot of things that happened in that game that contributed to the loss. Not taking care of the basketball early gets teams confident. We have to be better than that. But where we are right now, the reality of our situation is we are in a good position, and 3 of our last 4 are at home. What more could you ask for at this time of year? And you just got to go out there, bust your butt and do everything you can to put yourself in a position to have a chance to win. Now that being said, we're playing, one of the best teams in the league, one of the best teams in the country that has found a way to win. They've won 9 games by 4 points or less. That's incredible what they've done in Dusty May's first year. They're coming off what I would think is a disappointing game for them. What happened to them last night, they've been doing that to other teams with their physicality, with their rebounding. And, that poses a challenge for us, obviously. Hopefully we'll have Burke back. I don't know if he is back, how many minutes he'll be able to play. We're going to have to shake the rust off and, get him out there and, hopefully give us some high quality minutes. We're going to need him. Wolf is one of the more unique players that I've seen, not only in the Big Ten, but in the entire country, with his ability. Almost had a triple-double last night, and Golden is playing incredible basketball. He's averaging over 18 points per game, and then their guards. They're physical, they're tough, they're long, and they can make shots. So this is going to be a heck of a challenge for us. But I'm excited to get back in this building, excited to get back home after a long road trip, 2 of them that we've had this year. But we're going to throw everything we got at them, and we get 5 more opportunities to hopefully put ourselves in a great position to continue playing basketball in March.
How have you seen the guys respond to that message of the sky's not falling and staying level?
I think good, Wilson. You look at them when we got in that film room the other day. I just kind of sensed, the guys had their heads a little bit down, and that's why I just tried to keep everything in check. We didn't watch the game, you know. We talked about it a lot. Believe me, we worked on it on the court, but I felt the more productive thing was to find a way to get them back going again. And you know, our job at this time of year, a lot of it is, you know, my dad was a sociologist for 30 years. I mean, psychology, being a psychologist at this time of year, just to try to navigate, what are you going to say to your team? How are you going to get them prepared? I just didn't feel like that was the day to go in there and pound them into the ground. Now that we've had plenty of those this year, believe me, but it was getting their spirits back up and going out and having a spirited workout on the court. It was moving on. It was flushing that game away and moving on to Michigan and putting in a game plan that hopefully gives us a chance to win if we follow it. That was the thing that was disappointing with Penn State. We just got off the map. You get off to a tough start and one guy tries to go make a play and the other four don't know what the hell he's doing. You know, now you're got one guy out of position, and that's all it takes with our defense and with our system. You know, I think we're 13-1 when we hold teams to 70 or less. That's our identity. That's how we win games. And we just didn't have any type of edge, and a lot of it started with not taking care of the ball and allowing them to get comfortable.
Was that more of a fatigue issue just from the extended travel, or I guess the back-to-back poor starts? What do you attribute to that?
I'm not going to blame it on that, Robin. I mean, you know, we've had two of them. We didn't get off to a great start against Washington. We found a way to recover and played 20 really good minutes in that game in the second half. But you know, they do some things that exposed us. And again, when you're missing a couple key pieces that aren't out there, and you know, we had somebody who just didn't play well. You know, we had a lot of guys that have had great years that didn't play well. You know, you factor all that in, it's a recipe for getting your ass kicked. And you know, we just, again, I guess to answer how, I don't know who asked the question, I think it was you, but you know, it was how are the spirits? They've been good. You know, we bounced back with a couple good workouts, but that means nothing. I said this after the game the other day. We maybe had our best shoot around of the season. We were flying around, talking, energy, and obviously it didn't translate. And you know, sometimes it does. You go out and shoot around, you're like, God, I don't think we're ready to play. And then you go out in a game and you know, you play great. There's just no rhyme or reason for any of that stuff. I wish there was. It would make my job a hell of a lot easier to know what team was going to show up. But you know, we are where we are. And you know, last game, if we keep thinking about it going into this one, it's not going to be pretty when we take the floor on Monday night. You know, I'm proud of them for how they have responded to a tough situation and to a poor performance, and now we got to carry that over to Monday night.
How difficult is it to replicate the two big look that Michigan has with the athleticism that you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah, it's impossible. I mean, you know, we don't have a guy in our roster. I guess Braxton at 7 feet is, you know, the closest thing. But you know, you got a 7-footer that handles the ball, and you know, I don't know if you saw the behind the back pass he threw last night in the break. But I mean, he's a unicorn, man. I mean, he just what he does on the court, and throws lob passes, and you know, shoots step backs at that size. I mean, it's Jokic type stuff that he's out there doing on the floor, and then you pair him with a 7-1 guy that's got an unbelievable touch that's really good. They play well off each other. They're the best, I think, circle front of the rim team that we will face all year. And then you got guards that play their roles and they do it to perfection. So Dusty's doing a phenomenal job, you know, in his first year in this league. And again, they've executed beautifully, and that's why they've won a lot of close games.
You referenced a couple NBA players, just comparing their lineup. Do you go back to maybe how you defended some of the unique NBA looks, just with how different their starting five is compared to maybe other teams you faced?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think you stick to your principles and how you're going to guard, but yes, we're going to have to throw some different looks. I don't think you can throw one look at a player with that type of IQ, with a team with the type of IQ that they have. So, you know, again, we've got different looks, we'll adjust. But yeah, the coverages that will start at the beginning of the game, you're probably going to see different ones as the game goes on.
How did Berke, when you left him back, how did he respond to all the treatment and everything he went to?
Yeah, he responded. He responded well. It was a good decision to leave him back, and you know, not risk getting up in the altitude and his ankle swelling back up. He had some swelling after his workouts, which is to be expected. And gradually he's gotten better. So he did some individual work. He did an individual workout yesterday. Did not do anything live. Today he got back in, like I said, into one live drill and a short portion of it. Hopefully tomorrow, if he responds well, he'll be able to do a little bit more. And then again, you know, we've still got 5 games and hopefully play beyond So there's still some season left. If he's not ready, if there's a risk of him doing more damage, we're certainly not going to throw him out and put him in that position. But again, you see how important Burke is to our lineup. We give up 23 offensive rebounds at Northwestern, and then we had trouble finishing off possessions. And the few times Penn State did miss, they got some of those back. But Burke helps us all across the board, whether he's playing the 4 or the 5. He's as good as we got out there. So he covers things up for us, guys. And I think you saw how much we missed him in those last couple of games. And you see it, listen, when teams are missing one of their best players and one of their key guys, things happen. I'm proud. We had to get a split. Going into that road trip, we had to get a split. We got it. I would love to have two, especially after we got the Northwestern, but we didn't get it. But we had to get one. We got it, and now we got to come back and hopefully play well at home.
You mentioned after the game on Wednesday that you guys had to do some soul searching, you included in terms of looking at potentially changes for the start of the game. When you're considering doing that after a loss, what type of things are you looking at and trying to find to make subtle changes or whatever you do after?
Yeah, it's a great question, Justin. I think the biggest thing is you look at lineups, you look at rotations, you look at how can you get out of the gate better, because we have not been a very good starting team this year. And when we do start well, we play well generally. And if you don't get off to a good start, you make changes, you bring your bench guys in, and our bench has done a really good job for us all year. And we've switched starting lineups probably more than I ever have. And we'll see how we want to start on Monday. We may switch some things up again, just based on some different things and lineups and matchups and that type of thing. But listen, the key is there's no magic pill to get you to go out and play harder. It's a mindset. You got to go out and do it. You got to go out and execute it. Both ends. Michigan's very physical defensive team. They're going to get into you. They're going to worry you. They're going to play different defenses. Very effective in everything that they run. So whatever they're playing, you got to play with pace. You got to play with effort, movement. Our second halves in the last 2 games have been phenomenal. I mean, we were 60% at Penn State. It doesn't happen very often where you shoot 60% and a half and score almost 50 points and get beat by 17. That's how poor we were in the first half. And the same thing in Northwestern. They held Ohio State to 49. Ohio State's a hell of a team. And, we found a way to get a formula in the second half. We have to get consistent in our offense-defensive execution, to hopefully have a game where, you have the same offensive production in the first as you do the second. We changed up a little bit, when we go away from our bench these last few days, and we'll see if it pays off or not. I don't know, but listen, it doesn't matter what you run, it's how hard you run it. It doesn't matter what defense you play, it's how you execute in the edge that you play with. And if you bring it, it's a pretty good formula for having a really good game. We've had some of those this year, but we've also had several games of inconsistency. We're a quiet group, man. We are a quiet group, and we got to find a way to come out with our hair on fire, talking, foaming at the mouth, make an effort play early. I go back to Jawan last year against Purdue. First play of the game, he dove on the floor and called a timeout. I showed clips of everybody on our roster making an effort play, showing defensive possessions where we were connected, going back all the way back to Creighton, going to our trip in Hawaii, where we forced shot clock violations because we were so connected out there on the floor. That's what it takes early. You got to set the tone. If you don't, again, teams get comfortable on you, and things happen like they did the other night at Penn State. And listen, Penn State, it's a good basketball team. You look at their record, you think, how do you get beat by a team like that? Guys, they beat Purdue, okay? They had a 5-point lead under a minute to go at Michigan. They've lost 8 games by whatever it is, 5 or 6 points or less. It's a good basketball team. This league is really freaking good. And, if you don't go out there and you're not ready, it's gonna happen like that. So we got to get our edge back. We got to get our identity back, and hopefully go out and play well. And I'm confident this group will do that.
With Burke's status kind of up in the air, like what do you tell important guys like Andrew when it comes to like foul trouble and being able to stay on the court? Is there any kind of different messaging with him?
Yeah, I mean, he and I sat up in my office and watched from the Illinois game all of his fouls, and he's getting his body out of position. We watch him as a team a lot, but I just wanted to get up there and watch individual. He wanted to do it too. He wanted to see what he can do to get on the court. Some of it is going with his arms down as opposed to staying vertical. We talk about keeping your back of your hands on the rim when you jump up. you know, some of it is that. Some of it is coming over and shifting his body. Some of it's on our guards. They don't wait for him to set the screen, and they get him a moving screen. And as we said in the film session the other day, if I'm a big in that, I would be pissed off at the guard if they continue to put me in that position. So, you know, there's a variety of reasons. I thought the other day, the offensive player for Penn State pushed him off, and then he came back and made a play, and he gets called for the foul. So, you know, those are the ones sometimes that you know, that you look past. But he's got to quit doing the cheap ones. And you know, I tried to get him out. You know, get Brax. When he got one foul, I was going to try to get the other one in, so we didn't pick up a second. Unfortunately, we didn't get Braxton to the scores table in time. But yes, we watched them all, and hopefully he'll stay on the floor for us. And again, with Burke out, I think you saw the impact it had with Andrew picking up 2 quick ones.
With Burke out, how much do you have to like adjust or like go on a game by game basis, like your philosophy of like playing guys with 2 fouls and how you manage?
Yeah, I mean, we did it. We did it at Northwestern. Bryce was out there with 2. Sam, we put him back out there with 2, just, you know, to get some effort guys on the floor. We did it with Andrew the other day to get him back on, and I think there was one other guy, I can't remember who it was, that had 2 fouls. We put him back in. So yes, we do have it, and some of it's the flow of the game. I mean, when the lead's extending like it is, you got to try to do something, or it's not going to matter. You know, if it's a close game, if a guy's got 2, you're probably gonna roll with the guys you have, and you know, not put him in jeopardy of picking up a 3rd. Andrew did pick up his 3rd the other day, but you know, again, the margin was so big, and you know, it probably would have gotten bigger had we not put Andrew back in. And then he did a better job in the second half of staying on the floor, and I think he saw the impact that he had. And what did we win the second half by 8, I think. But you know, again, it didn't matter with what happened to us in the first half.
I think that's for Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.